It's 2:17 a.m. on the 22nd of October 2025. Over the deep green jungle of southern Venezuela, a B-2 Spirit bomber from Whiteman Air Force Base cuts through the darkness like a ghost. Inside the cockpit, the pilot whispers, "On profile." The radar glows faintly as the target appears a hidden fortress buried beneath the trees, a site that had already swallowed 2 special ops teams alive. The bomb bay doors open. A single heavy penetrator slips free and disappears into the black canopy. For a moment there's only silence, then the ground erupts. A white fireball blooms, rising into a tower of smoke that lights the jungle from below. Shockwaves roll for miles, shaking the windows of sleeping villages. On a hill far away, a radio dies mid-song. In an underground corridor, lights flicker and go dark. Somewhere in the haze, men begin to shout, dogs bark, and an old jammer crackles to life. From the cockpit comes one calm voice. "Confirm effect." From Ops Command. "We have one shot to finish this, or we wake up a swarm. Your call." The pilot stares into the glow on the horizon, his finger hovering over the second switch. Cut to black. That explosion wasn't just another strike in a remote jungle. It was the start of something much bigger. The fortress hit that night sat near the upper Orinoco River, a hidden artery that snakes toward the Caribbean. For years, that river moved more than water. It carried tons of drugs headed north. The gang inside was called Tren de Aragua, born inside Venezuela's Tocaron prison and now spread across half of South America. What began as a few inmates smuggling phones and weapons had grown into a criminal empire with its own soldiers, labs, and secret deals. For military planners, this was the core problem. The site wasn't just a hideout, it was a command hub where digital ledgers tracked billions in drug money. The terrain made it nearly untouchable. Dense jungle blocked satellites, and jammers blinded drones. Every path was mined, every tunnel reinforced with stolen steel. The gang knew the land like home and fought from the shadows. To the crew flying the B-2 that night, it wasn't a target on a screen. It was personal. They'd seen photos of lost teams. They knew Yanomami families were trapped near the site as human shields. The order was clear: strike fast, strike clean, and vanish before sunrise. In Washington, the debate dragged on. Overdose deaths at home were soaring past 100,000. Ground raids failed. Drones went dark. The B-2 Spirit was the only aircraft that could pierce the jungle, hit with precision, and escape unseen. That's why it mattered. The jungle fortress wasn't just a drug lab, it was a direct challenge to American power. So tell me, if you were in command, would you strike harder to end it now, press 1, or hold back to avoid a wider war? Press 9 and comment below. The first signal came through a whisper of static. Target confirmed. Wind steady. Inside the B-2, the glow from the screens painted 2 faces in blue light. The pilot's hands rested steady on the controls. The weapons officer counted down. 5, 4, 3. Far below, the jungle still slept. Then, a dull tremor rolled through the earth. The GBU-57 penetrator tore through the canopy and vanished underground. 1 second later, the sky split open. The shockwave slammed outward, bending trees like blades of grass. A cluster of wooden huts miles away burst into flame. In the tunnels, air was sucked out in an instant. Lights burst, and men fell before they could even reach for their rifles. "Impact confirmed," came the voice from Ops Command. "Visual? Nothing but dust." Back in the compound, chaos. The first guard staggered through smoke, ears bleeding. A generator kicked once, then died. From the tree line, a hidden MANPADS team fired blind into the night sky. The missile streaked upward, chasing a target that wasn't there. It vanished without a hit. "Spirit 1, egress," the controller ordered. "Negative," the pilot answered. Secondary heat signature still active. He banked low, radar sweeping the terrain. Another mark appeared, a tunnel vent still radiating. The officer armed the second payload. Releasing now? The second drop hit with surgical precision. A flash of orange burst under the canopy, followed by a long, low rumble that rolled through the valley. Inside the fortress, concrete ceilings collapsed, and the encrypted server room went dark. At a nearby village, women clutched their children as windows shattered. One mother whispered a prayer, not knowing who had struck or why. On the other side of the sky, the B-2 climbed silently, its dark wing fading into the clouds. In the Pentagon's command room, the radar screen dimmed to static. "Signal lost," a tech said. The general watching simply nodded. "Good, that means it's gone." But even as the smoke thinned, movement returned to the jungle. A single encrypted transmission jumped from a relay still buried deep underground. The system was damaged, but not dead. A ghost signal pulsed toward the border, carrying coordinates, names, and a promise of payback. The strike was over. The silence had begun to scream. By sunrise, satellite feeds showed nothing but smoke and broken trees. From above, it looked finished. But on the ground, chaos had only begun. The explosion tore open a dozen hidden paths, letting armed survivors scatter into the rainforest. Some carried rifles, others carried flash drives. None of them planned to surrender. At sea, patrol aircraft picked up fast boats racing north through the Caribbean. Within hours, the first interception happened, one narrow hull running dark, loaded with sealed crates. A missile from a Navy jet found it before dawn, turning the surface into a short wall of fire. The clip hit the internet before official reports did. For some, it was justice. For others, it was murder. In close fights, small angles decide everything, one analyst later said. 5 degrees off, and you hit the wrong boat. Back in Caracas, the government denied everything. On state TV, officials called the footage fake. But the funerals in coastal villages told another story. Angry crowds gathered, waving photos of sons lost at sea. The air crackled with chants and grief. Inside the Pentagon, screens glowed through the night. Analysts mapped new signals spreading from the crater site. Small bursts of encrypted chatter across borders. The cartel was fragmenting, not dying. Its leaders were gone, but its operators were splitting into smaller groups, each one harder to track. On base, the B-2 crew debriefed in silence. After 18 hours in the air, the pilot stared at his hands. "We got the fortress," he said softly. "But did we end the war or start it?" No one answered. In the jungle, drones returned to the crash site. Their cameras caught movement men digging through rubble, pulling out gear, weapons, even laptops. A small boy waved a white cloth toward the sky, then disappeared into the trees. By nightfall, 3 more speedboats were destroyed at sea, all linked to the same network. The defense secretary called it a success. The State Department called for restraint. Between the two, the line blurred. The world now saw what happened when a cartel became a battlefield. The United States had shown its reach, but in doing so, had awakened something that refused to die quietly. For days, Washington believed the mission had ended in victory. But deep inside the jungle, a different story was unfolding. Hidden under the debris of the collapsed tunnels, a small server rack flickered back to life. A backup generator buried 30 feet down kicked in just long enough to transmit one final signal. It wasn't a call for help, it was a roadmap. Encrypted coordinates flashed across a satellite link, bouncing toward receivers in Colombia, Panama, and even the southern coast of Florida. Inside those codes were names, bank accounts, and a message to the cartel's scattered lieutenants. Continue the chain. The fortress was gone, but the network had already learned to survive without it. The leaders who died that night had built something built for chaos, each cell independent, each lab capable of running alone. The bomb had cut off the head, but the body was still moving. No one in Washington knew it yet. The B-2 crews were back home. The news channels were showing victory headlines. But in border towns hundreds of miles away, quiet orders were already being passed in whispers. New shipments, new faces, new routes. Then, small sparks began to appear across the map. A roadside bomb struck a convoy near the Colombian border. A warehouse fire in Trinidad revealed hundreds of pounds of processed fentanyl. In Miami, a suspicious container arrived with no declared owner. The realization came too late. The strike hadn't destroyed the cartel, it had forced it to evolve. The enemy was no longer hiding in one jungle. It was now hiding everywhere. The silence after the blast wasn't peace. It was preparation. 2 weeks later, the storm hit again, this time at sea. A Navy patrol plane flying above the Caribbean picked up a fast-moving radar contact, slicing across the black water without lights or transponder. Contact confirmed. Range 9 miles, came the report through calm static. On the bridge of the cutter Hawthorne, crew members stared at the glowing dot. Everyone knew what that dot meant. Somewhere inside, it was either a drug run or a spark that could ignite a war. "Intercept," the commander ordered. The escorting jet banked low, engines howling through the humid night. Below, the ocean looked like polished glass, reflecting nothing but faint moonlight and the steady blink of radar on the ship's mast. "Mark target. Copy. Tracking." A flash tore through the darkness. A missile hit, lifting a column of water and fire into the air. Debris scattered, and the sea hissed back in silence. For 3 long seconds, no one spoke. "Impact confirmed," the pilot said. The feed showed burning fragments drifting among the waves. Within hours, the footage went viral. Many called it justice for the poison flooding American streets. Others called it reckless, another step toward a conflict no one wanted. In Caracas, protests exploded. Angry crowds filled the streets with chants against foreign interference. Officials denied the strike, then denounced it as an act of war. In Washington, the press room buzzed with questions no one could answer: who gave the order and what exactly had been destroyed. Inside the Pentagon, lights burned past midnight. 3 strikes in 1 week, a colonel muttered. "We're no longer sending messages, we're setting fire." Another replied, "Then we better control how it burns." Meanwhile, the same B-2 Spirit crew prepped for another launch at Whiteman Air Force Base. Under the hangar floodlights, mechanics checked every panel, refueled, rearmed, reloaded. The pilot climbed the ladder, face set, eyes forward. "Spirit 1 ready for tasking Delta," he said. "Spirit 1, cleared to engage." Engines roared. The hangar doors opened wide, spilling light into the Missouri night. The dark-winged bomber rolled out and vanished into the clouds again, silent, unseen, unstoppable. If you were the one giving that order, would you strike again to end the fight? Press 1, or hold back to prevent a wider war? Press 9 and tell us below. By dawn, the jungle fortress was gone. Satellite photos showed only a dark scar carved into the trees. The airstrip, bunkers, and tunnels had collapsed into ash and twisted metal. Official reports called it a success. But on the ground, survivors were already moving, cartel couriers slipping through the brush with flash drives, cash, and stolen radios. The heart of Trendeirwa was destroyed, yet its veins still pulsed far beyond the blast zone. In the United States, the strike dominated every network. The footage of the explosion ran beside images of the B-2's black silhouette gliding home. Some called it justice for the families broken by fentanyl. Others warned it was the start of a shadow war. America wasn't ready to fight. Inside the Pentagon, planners studied the data. The network had splintered into cells smaller, faster, harder to trace. Hitting one fortress had been simple. Hunting fragments across borders would take years. Every new target raised the same question: act fast and risk backlash, or hold fire and watch the poison spread. In Caracas, state TV praised national unity while soldiers quietly deserted. Documents leaked showing high-ranking officers tied to the cartel escaping by sea. The strike hadn't just crushed a gang, it had cracked the regime that protected it. Back at Whiteman Air Force Base, the B-2 crew stood on the tarmac watching the sunrise over Missouri. Their mission was over, but the war had only changed shape. The enemy no longer hid in a jungle, it hid in city streets, ports, and encrypted networks. A senior officer reviewing the mission log said softly, "We can destroy a fortress in one night, but not the idea behind it." No one spoke. Outside, another Spirit bomber rolled into the hangar, wings glinting in the morning light. The video of that moment went viral. Some viewers saw it as strength, others saw it as a warning. If you believe the Spirit should strike again to finish what it started, press 1. If you think it's time to pull back before the fire spreads, press 9 and tell us below.